Greetings and welcome to Mount Olympus. I am Hercules Invictus, and today I am greatly honored to be with the Enchantress as we explore the enchanted self in its many manifestations. Greetings and welcome, Barbara. How are you?
I'm good, Hercules. It's fun to be back. It's fun
Yes, it
to
is.
continue our relationship around books and all sorts of things. And I know you've come ready to share something that you've written, and it brought to light something that I'll share when it's my turn. So I think it could be a lot of fun to share these things.
I'm looking forward to it. Enchantress is first.
All right, Enchantresses first. Now let's set the mood. The mood is to block out the television set, which unfortunately we have to live with in part of the house. And all right, so I'm going to tell you and the audience what I thought of reading, and then I have to get closer to it so I can do it. I've been working on a book that is based on two young women who live in uh, the 60s. At least that's where the book starts. They are roommates at Barnard College. They meet accidentally, just in the way people meet in college. They become very, very, very close friends, and all sorts of things happen to them. I find this is fascinating to me because I get to relive, I guess I could say I went to Barnard for 3 years, and these girls know nothing that is similar to me. Our worlds were not similar, but somehow it gives me a chance to go back to that stage of development. And they're very different than me. They both come from Texas. They both have had quite a bit of disharmony in the way they were brought up. Um, and actually, they're the type of characters that um, I've had to do very little thinking as I write because they almost tell me what to write. Believe that or not, but a lot of authors say that, and that's exactly the way it feels as I've written. And the first book is called Two Girls Down the Hall, at least that's the working title. And I'm not quite sure, the passage that I want to read is actually from what would be the second book. And I want it to be, I don't know how many books I'll write about them. Maybe it'll be two, maybe it'll be more. I would love to see these girls in a film or a series because they come so alive. They'll make you want to stay hitched to them. In fact, I gave the first book to my sister just out of the computer. It's not set up yet as a book. And she said that she thought she would not be interested for various reasons. And then she found the two women absolutely compelling. So she had to find out how they handled this and then how they handled that, how they handled the next thing. So I'm going to read a little bit. I'm going to go, let's see how I can do this with it not being insane.
Hey, you were all the way in the corner for this segment.
I should go all the way in the corner.
No, you were all the way in the corner. It was cutting off half your face sometimes.
All right, so let's see. I think I'm going to have to sacrifice what I actually wanted to share with you tonight and do another passage because the computer, oh, wait a minute, maybe, no, I'm just thinking, could I use my phone instead to read. I'm sorry that this is, oh, here it is. Okay, so this is a very at-home thing we're doing tonight.
Yep.
Okay, so let me see. I think it's on my phone now, and that could work. So just one more minute. Can't believe it. No, it's not on the phone. Oh, gosh.
Would you like me to read my passage while you're looking for yours?
I think you should. Yes. Why don't you go? See, I would have to go off and print it out. Or you go ahead with yours and I'm gonna find something as a substitute.
Okay,
Go right ahead.
let me just switch over to the other screen. Okay. Here it is. It's untitled at this particular point in time in its writing. It's just gone to the editor and it's going to the second editor now, so it's a work in progress. Throughout antiquity, in ancient, I'm sorry, throughout antiquity, in and around the Mediterranean Sea, Hermes, the swift-winged messenger of Olympus, and Thanatos, the fierce titan of death, would routinely escort the distinguished dead to the nearest underworld entrance. Less celebrated souls made their own way there along at the beginning, but swiftly, I'm having a difficult time reading this, Barbara. I'm sorry. Let's take two. Throughout antiquity, in and around the Mediterranean Sea, Hermes, the swift-winged messenger of Olympus, and Thanatos, the fierce titan of death, would routinely escort the distinguished dead to the nearest underworld entrance. Less celebrated souls made their own way there, alone at first, but eventually joining the growing parade of other souls similarly en route. Everyone in the Greco-Roman world knew where these entrances were. Some of them even had a necromandion established nearby, where still living folks could communicate with the newly dead. And then I proceed to take people on a journey through the various afterlife and in between places described in Greek mythology and in ancient Greek religion. So it's kind of like an introduction to the topic.
Very interesting. Can you tell us what, even as just ad libbing, what a person's journey might be like that you're gonna take them on?
Well, at every point, it depends on what happens. There's a lot of situations that need to be resolved. I'll give one example. Um, did the family or the proxy person, if the person passed away far away, like if they were in the army or if they were a merchant somewhere and they met with misfortune, did the proper rites, were the proper rites performed? Were the proper words said? And were coins given to the deceased to help them pay for the fare of Charon, the ferryman, to bring them to the other side of the river where they could go to judgment and their final placement. So it depends what happened there, and depending on what happened, a lot of different outcomes were possible. So part of what I wanted to do with this particular piece was to refute the belief that some of the ancient mythic spiritualities weren't as clearly defined in terms of the soul and the soul's journeys before and after physical death and before life even. So I did a very uh, relaxed but thorough outline of what one can expect at each step of the way and where there were ways of getting around what the system was designed to do. Because Greek mythology and Greek religion were full of ways where you could kind of like game the system. So even in life after death and your placement for a while.
You were still working at it.
Yep.
Yeah,
Now, as someone who's spent a lot of my life in psychology and in the psychological realms, working with people, a lot of the after death states that were described, you could find them in the psychological states that still living people had. or have still in our day and age, they're mirrored in some of the after death states that were described in antiquity. So, like for instance, there's a place, the Fields of Asphodel or the Asphodel Fields, where people go and they're blessed or cursed, depending on how you want to take it, with forgetfulness. And someone who has Alzheimer's or dementia is often in a state of forgetfulness. And if you're taking care of such a person, it can be a blessing, it can be a curse. So they had a whole after death state that reflected that. So I'm delving into those a little later on, but for right now, I just outlined the journey to see if it was understandable and clear, and we'll see where it goes from there.
All right, well, I'm gonna try again because actually I know that what I want to say, even though it will be a little looser than perhaps reading a document. Am I in the right position or
Half your head, or more than half your head, your face is being blocked out.
I
You
should
could,
go this way?
yes, perfect.
Okay, so as I was saying, this is a passage that'll be in probably the second book about the two young ladies. And the title of the book at this point is Two Girls Down the Hall. They are living in a very, very beautiful apartment that they're splitting the cost on, and they have just about come up to New Year's. They each have a boyfriend, but the boyfriends are not the relevant in this particular passage. Actually, one of the boyfriends is in medical school and he has to put in a lot of time around New Year's because so many of the older doctors and stuff need the time off. So he's on some sort of duty in the hospital. And the other gal has a boyfriend who's finishing his dissertation. He's busy. His uncle owns a restaurant from Afghanistan that's very popular, so he helps his uncle. Anyway, they're all alone and they were a little bit lonely. So one of the girls says to the other girl, why don't we invite over that nice guy that lived upstairs from us in our last place? You know, we sort of just left without even really saying goodbye, and he was so nice to us. He helped us so much with the insects that were in the apartment. I'm trying to think of the right word, not roaches, cockroaches, which is inevitable when you live in New York.
I
And
remember.
he had all sorts of ideas and helped them. And he was a little strange. Um, they had visited him once and he wanted them to stay because they were going to do some sort of seance that night. He, as an elderly person, had a group of friends and they would meet in different apartments, and this was one of their pleasures. The girls were not quite ready for that, so they worked their way out of that and thanked him but left. So they did invite him, and to their surprise, he shows up with two things that surprised them. One was a very sexy younger woman by comparison to the fellow. Maybe if he was 80 or 85, she was 45 and, you know, really snazzy and seemed to adore him. And the other thing was that he walked in and he saw a little table and he said, you won't mind if I put my crystal ball down on the table, right? And the girls were kind of shocked, but they said, okay. And he said, don't worry, I keep her covered like you would cover a bird, so she won't interrupt us while we're eating. So, so they were also a little bothered by this, but they went along with it. And so they went in the kitchen and they wanted to finish getting the hors d'oeuvres ready and stuff. And meanwhile, the sexy girl, whose name was Gloria, turned out, and the fellow were in the living room, and they were seated on a couch, which the girls had offered them. But, they could hear that they had gotten up from the couch and they were walking around and looking at everything. Okay, so they came back with the hors d'oeuvres, they have the hors d'oeuvres, and everything goes, pretty ordinary. They have the main course and everything is pretty ordinary. And I won't go into all the foods, but one of the things I've done in these books is that it's all what people really ate in 1960, which is not the same as what we eat today. Not entirely different, but like a big hors d'oeuvre are these tiny little hot dogs. And I don't think they're that popular anymore. I haven't seen anyone indulging in them in 30 years, but they were popular anywhere you went in those days. So they finish everything and the guy says, do you mind if I want to get that, take the towel off of her so she can breathe? And I want to see what she has to say. And they just feel a little strange, so to speak. And so he talks to this crystal ball as if it is a person. He says, oh, she does have one message. Oh, yes, oh, yes. And it's just for one of you. You'll have to figure out which one. I'm not sure, but you'll be able to figure it out. And they're really, they can feel their heart beating faster, and it's very challenging for them because they're not sure they want to hear anything. When you have romances and you're young and it all sounds wonderful, but not so. You're always worried, will it work out? Will it not work out? And it doesn't mean you really want to know anything. So anyway, the message is something like, stay very, very alert because there are things coming up that you will have to make a decision about. And that's the message. And then he says, are you done? Are you done? Oh, yeah, she's tired already. I guess there's only going to be that one message. Oh, yeah. Okay. Good night. Good night. And he's talking to her like a child or girlfriend, even. And they're very uncomfortable. And but they try to be a good hostesses, and they bring out some dessert, which is basically ice cream because everyone loved ice cream in those days and had it for dessert. And then somebody looks at their watch, and maybe it's Gloria, and she says, oh, we have to get going. We have that other thing we have to go to. He says, yeah, that's right. We've got to leave. I got to bring her home, meaning the crystal ball, and then we'll go on to the other place. And they get ready to leave. And as they walk toward the door, he turns to them, and they realize something as he speaks. And he says, by the way, you have about $500,000 in paintings in this room. That's very good. You should have no trouble getting $500,000 for them. And he walks out. And the two girls are just left stunned. $500,000 in 1960 would probably be equivalent to 2.5 million today. And they're just dazed, and they hear Gloria's clicking of her high heels on the steps one by one as they go down. And they hear the front door open and then close. And they're just left in this mire, this whirlwind of potential money, potential worrying about something. And that's where it ends.
Wow. I think I've read some of the adventures of these young ladies before in excerpts that you've sent me, and I'm glad they're still adventuring. You capture characters very, very well. They're very fully realized and they're very much alive. And I'm looking forward to their publication.
Well, I am too, and I'm worried about that because I don't have a clear publisher at this point, and, you know, I'm not sure how I'm going to move forward, but I'm going to keep writing till it all comes together.
And this is fiction, but it's also slice of life. It's also, yeah, like I said, they're very much alive.
Yes, and it also portrays, as I said, the world as it existed in 1960, which, if writers don't write about it, soon it slides into the abyss of all things in the past.
That's
And
very,
I think it's a very important time. It was the time that Kennedy was president, and there were terrible things, assassinations and so on, but there was also a dream around democracy that I don't think is being stirred the same way at this point. So, all right, so that's all I had for tonight, but it was fun.
that it most certainly was. It's always a pleasure to be speaking with you. I look forward to it, and I'm looking forward to our next conversation already.
Yes, I am too.
How
And
enter the world of the Enchanted Self?
yes, and by the way, anyone is looking for me, the best place to go to is enchantedself.com. And I look forward to next month.
Me too. Uh,
Okay,
Success in all your endeavors. Say hi to everybody, and I look forward to speak with you soon. Thank you.
yes, and feel free to cut anything that was, wasted in the very beginning.
I'm not at the point yet where I can cut these things, so these are.
Oh, okay, fine, so
This
we'll
is.
just go with it. All right, good night, feel good,
Good night, you too, Barbara.
bye.